Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I've been having an interesting exchange of ideas on one of my WhatsApp social media groups. The accusation that I hate Chamisa in particular and the opposition in general, some people cannot get over that. I think one of the problems we have in Zimbabwe is our failure to grasp ideas. Let me explain from the beginning again. Zanu PF is a party of thugs, corrupt, incompetent, and all they care about is power. By the late 1990s, the people of Zimbabwe realized that as long as Zanu PF is in power, the country was doomed. The nation had two choices. Go back to launching another war of independence, fighting to remove Zanu PF from power. Or the nation elects opposition parties, use the window of opportunity that the nation had, i.e., even under Zanu PF dictatorship, Zanu PF could not avoid having to hold regular elections. And so the nation decided they will risk livelihoods, limbs, and even lives to elect opposition leaders whose number one task would be to implement the democratic reforms necessary to end this Zanu PF dictatorship. I think that was a good decision. The MDC, the Movement for Democratic Change, was launched in 1999. Morgan Tsvangirai and company promised the nation that they will deliver the democratic changes that the nation was dying for. And they even called their party that, the Movement for Democratic Change. So it is important to understand where our opposition came from, and it is what it is supposed to do. And so 25 years down the line, we have to ask, why is it that Zanu PF is still able to blatantly rig elections? These last 25 years, people have risked livelihoods, limbs, and even lives to elect MDC-C leaders into positions of power and authority for the express purpose that they would implement the reforms. And yet, not even one token reform has been implemented. The problem the people have is that they have also lost sight of what is it that MDC-C leaders are supposed to do. And it doesn't help in this case when the opposition leaders themselves think that they are not accountable. In my group, this debate is centered around Chamisa's recent posting on the social media. Here he posted himself with images of him growing older. And he says that life has three testaments, according to him: the Old Testament, the Now Testament, and the New Testament, the coming Testament. His number one focus there was that people should not judge him on the basis of the Old or the Now Testament. People must wait what is to come. Wait for the New Testament. This is interesting. If we go back to what I said at the beginning, why did we need the opposition? Well, we needed the opposition for the express purpose of implementing the democratic reforms to end the Zanu PF dictatorship. So if we cannot judge Chamisa and company on the basis of the Old Testament, i.e. what they've done in the last 25 years, then we cannot judge them on whether or not they delivered on the democratic changes. It defeats the whole point of democratic accountability. It defeats the whole point of what we wanted. People were risking livelihoods, limbs, and lives, electing leaders for the express purpose that they would implement the democratic changes to stop Zanu PF rigging the elections. And after 25 years, you find not even one token reform has been implemented. And the person who put themselves forward to be elected 25 years ago, promising that they will be the movement for democratic change, they will implement the democratic changes, is now turning around and saying, no, you can't hold me to account what I've done or failed to do in the last 25 years. Hold me to account for what I will do in future. The people, if they'd known that 25 years down the line, not even one token reform would have been implemented, I don't think that is what they would have risked their lives for that. So we find ourselves going round and round in circles. What do we want? We want democratic changes. And we don't want those democratic changes in the distant future. We want them now. We wanted them 25 years ago. And after 25 years, including the 5 years in the GNU, you find that there's not even a token reform has been implemented. I think it is important that people should acknowledge that failure and say, well, let's get somebody else who can do it. In fact, Chamisa's New Testament, as he calls it, does not include implementing reforms. Chamisa and company have given up on implementing reforms. Ever since the 2008 to 2013 GNU debacle, Chamisa and company have been of the view that they can win elections without reforms. They've given up on reforms. Now they are arguing that they can win elections without reforms. And come each election, Chamisa and company have always come forward and said they will win those elections. In 2018, he said MDC Alliance would win the elections because they have stringent measures to stop Zanu PF rigging the elections. In 2023, another promise. C will win big because I've plugged all the vote rigging loopholes. Hashtag God is in it. The truth of the matter is, they did not win those elections. Zanu PF has been rigging those elections. In fact, in all occasions, 2013, 2018, 2023, the day after the elections, it was none other than Chamisa and company himself who complained that the elections were rigged. The very elections that they said they were going to win big, they are the ones who are first ones to admit that the elections were rigged. They've never counted why they told the people that they were going to win those elections, that they plugged the vote rigging loopholes. They've never bothered to account for that. Indeed, it comes back to what Chamisa was talking about there. Don't judge me on the past. Well, as much as some people would want to believe Chamisa's promises that if he became president, the country will have prosperity, bullet trains traveling from Bulawayo to Harare in 1 hour. Airports in the rural areas, roundabouts, intersections in the rural areas. much as people would want to believe that, the truth of the matter is there's still the important task of stopping Zanu PF rigging the elections so that he can become president. This is just no more than somebody who argues that he will provide a bumper harvest, but does not want to undergo the basic tasks of going out there, clearing the fields, plowing it, planting the seed, and weeding and so forth. He just wants to harvest. He expects somebody else to do all that. Then he can walk in as the master farmer. Life is not like that. Chamisa said he was going to win the 2023 elections. Hashtag God is in it. He did not win those elections. The truth of the matter is, God was never in it. These were some of Chamisa's harebrained schemes, promises. He only evoked the name of God, as if to say to the people, don't hold me to account, hold God to account if it doesn't happen. This is where the people have got to wake up. Are we voting for God, or are we voting for a mere mortal who is refusing to be held accountable and is using all manner of excuses to escape accountability? Don't judge me. On the past. Or the Now Testament. Judge me on the future testament. The future that we don't know. And yet to get to that future, we have to do the dirty work of implementing the democratic reforms. Something that he has failed to do in 25 years, including the 5 years in the GNU when he had the golden opportunity to do so. But being clever as he is, escaping accountability by claiming that God is in it, in his schemes. I don't believe God is in any of his harebrained schemes. We are thus being shortchanged by somebody conning us into believing that God is in his schemes, when in fact that is a lie. In fact, Chamisa is a liar. He has told many lies. He has often claimed that he is going to win the elections. And here he is claiming that he is preparing his cabinet.
Makorokoto Zimbabwe nokuti hakuna munhu anomira kana denga raronga plan. Denga raronga plan, denga harifoiri. Plan yaMwari haifoiri. Ini ndatanga kugadzira cabinet. There is no way we are not going to form a new cabinet. There is no way we are not going to have a celebration. There is no way we are not going to have an inauguration. Let's start preparing for our inauguration. Let's start preparing for our celebration.
Here is one occasion when he was taken to task for his lies.
Ende patakasangana na Trump akatibvunza navakomana, mari yamuri kuda kuti nyika ifambe imari.
Serious questions were raised about your behaviour in Washington, D.C. You did see some senior people on Capitol Hill, some Congress people, but you also claimed that you'd seen Donald Trump. You claimed you had a conversation with him in which you said he asked you how much you needed to move the country forward. You told him $15 billion, and he said to you that he would provide the money if you won the election. That was not true, was it?
Sangana na Trump akatibvunza navakomana, mari yamuri kuda kuti nyika ifambe imari.
It was not true that you'd seen Donald Trump and that Donald Trump indicated to you that he would provide, if you won the election, $15 billion.
All those statements were said by other people, not what I said.
Kasangana na Trump akatibvunza navakomana, mari yamuri kuda kuti nyika ifambe imari.
Well, no, because there is a video which shows you at a rally in January back home in Zimbabwe saying that Donald Trump had pretty much promised you $15 billion. To be clear, because some people in Zimbabwe are still confused, you're now telling me you did not meet Donald Trump.
We did not.
I believe the biggest lie Chamisa has told is that God is in his schemes. He is back. He is preparing to participate in the 2028 elections. And he'll be telling people the same lie that God is in it. They should participate in flawed elections, only to give Zanu PF legitimacy and perpetuate the dictatorship. We need to wake up. We need an opposition that will implement the democratic reforms to stop Zanu PF rigging the elections. That is the number one priority. The thing that MDC, Chamisa and company have failed to deliver in 25 years, including the 5 years in the GNU. Worst of all, they've been conning people to participate in these flawed elections only to give Zanu PF legitimacy. We need to wake up. This whole argument that we want democracy and yet do not have the common sense to realize that democracy demands that we, the people, should be diligent in holding our leaders to account. And in this particular case, the leaders have been so clever, they've now placed themselves in a position where they are no longer accountable to us. It's not just Chamisa. Mnangagwa is doing the same thing. Zanu PF is not accountable to the people. In Zanu PF's case, they use the state machinery to rig elections and deny people a meaningful vote. And once he has rigged the elections, he pretends that that was the democratic will of the people, and has been known to say the will of the people is the will of God. What an idiotic idea. Was it the will of God that you should rig elections? Of course not. Hashtag God is in it. Was it the will of God that you should participate in elections that are so flawed that you don't even have a verified voters roll? Of course not. I think the starting point for the people of Zimbabwe is realizing, opening their eyes and realize that the leaders are taking them for a ride. The leaders must be accountable to the people. That is not negotiable. To try to escape and pretend that what I'm doing is God's will, God is in it, when clearly God is not in it, is an outrage. The focus for the people of Zimbabwe as we go into 2028 is to realize that Zanu PF, we cannot stop them breaking the elections. But we can stop them getting political legitimacy. We cannot stop Chamisa and company participating in those flawed elections. But we can be wise enough to realize that Chamisa's God in it is a lie. And we should not participate in flawed elections to give Zanu PF legitimacy. It is within our power to achieve that. And I think we should. We should wake up to the reality that Chamisa is lying to us. God is never in any of his harebrained schemes of participating in flawed elections. We need to implement the democratic reforms. Just because Chamisa and company failed to implement those reforms does not mean we do not need the reforms anymore, nor that there's nobody else who can implement those reforms. Open up your eyes. We need to open up our eyes. I repeat, hashtag God is in it is one of Chamisa's biggest lies. And he is back. To tell the same lie and con people to participate in 2028 to perpetuate the Zanu PF dictatorship. It's up to us. We can refuse to be conned. We can refuse to accept the lie that God is something that we all know is not true. How many times has Chamisa said, "Go hashtag God is in it," and it turns out that it is not true? How many more times does he have to lie to tell us the same lie before we finally open our eyes and realize we are being conned, we are being taken for a ride? I repeat, we cannot stop Zanu PF rigging the elections. We cannot stop Chamisa and company participating in flawed elections. But we can stop ourselves participating in those flawed elections in our millions, as happened in 2023 and in the past, and deny legitimacy to the regime. Think about it. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.